Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Williams, and today I'm going to be going over the skill of opposite action. Opposite action is a skill found in the emotional regulation unit. So, opposite action is used when a client decides an emotion is not helping or is very painful. They can use the skill to change or reduce that emotion. So, times when you would use this skill is one, when the emotion does not fit the facts of the actual situation and is not justified. For an example, maybe being extremely fearful of a presentation that you're going to give. Second one would be the emotion is too intense, it has lasted too long, or acting on the emotion will not be effective in the situation, even if the emotion is justified. So let's talk a little bit about different emotions. Now, I know in another video, I went through some of the common emotions and action urges. So with fear, the action urge might be to escape or avoid. In anger, it might be to attack or yell. With sadness, it might be withdrawing, becoming passive or isolating. Shame might bring about hiding, avoiding, withdrawing, or saving face by attacking other people. Guilt might be this overpromise that you'll never commit the offense again, moving away from responsibility, hiding, lowering your head, or begging for forgiveness, or attempts to repair. Jealousy might include verbal accusations, attempt to control somebody else, acting suspicious. If you have love, it might be saying, I love you, making an effort to spend time with the person, doing what the other person wants or needs, and giving affection. So, when we talk about fear and anxiety, remember we talked about how we try to avoid. So, the opposite of avoiding would be to approach. So let's say, for example, that you have that fear of presentation. So you would want to approach that event and take on that activity. You might approach events, places, tasks, activities, people you are afraid of over and over and confront situations you're afraid of doing. I know in the past I've had people afraid of having conversations with people in charge or authority figures. And so the idea here is that you actively approach those things you're afraid of doing. Do things to increase your sense of control and mastery over your fears. The idea of this is like, getting on a roller coaster for the first time. The first time you go, you might be really anxious and be afraid, or maybe you even avoid it. But once you get on, you go through the process and you do it again and again until that roller coaster no longer is fearful. When we talk about anger, one of the things we do in anger is we lash out, we yell, we attack. The opposite action of anger is to gently avoid. So if you feel like attacking somebody else, maybe the idea here would be gently avoid the person that you're angry with. Take a time out and breathe in and out deeply and slowly. Be kind rather than mean or attacking, and try to have empathy for the other person. Try to think about it from the other person's perspective and avoid them until the wave of anger has subsided. Then we talk about sadness. Sadness might want you to withdraw or become passive or isolate. So many people have told me in the past that they often isolate in bed when they get sad or they don't feel up to do anything. So the opposite action of sadness would be to get active. Approach things and don't avoid them. Build mastery and increase your pleasant activities. So even when you don't feel like it. Now, remember, sometimes we have like that mood dependent behavior that is telling us and yelling at us to do certain things, right? So, like when we're mood dependent on fear, we may not do the things that are important to us. If we're mood dependent on anger, then we might lash out when it doesn't serve us, like with a teacher or a boss. Or in sadness, we might isolate, which guarantees that we don't have corrective experiences that would help build that serotonin and dopamine we need to become not sad. The opposite action of shame actually has two parts, right? With shame, you can face the music when your behavior goes against your moral values or hurts the feelings of significant other, and the guilt of the action fits the facts, right? So when you check the facts, should you feel guilty for this? If so, there are things that you can do, right? Rather than hide and move away from the experience, apologize and repair the harm when possible. We recommend the correction and then overcorrection. So correction means to do what it's necessary to fix the problem and then go one step beyond. Try to avoid making the same mistake in the future and accept what the consequences are. And then forgive yourself and let it go. We all do things that we feel guilty for, and we all do things that go against our own moral values at some point, and we sometimes hurt people's feelings. Excuse me. So, also with shame, when your behaviors don't violate your moral values and the shame does not fit the facts, the idea is to go public. Participate fully in social interactions, hold your head high and keep your voice steady. Make eye contact. Go public with personal characteristics or behavior with people who won't reject you. For example, if you have a certain lifestyle that many people do not agree with, or you're feeling like people don't agree with in your family or other situations, then go public with it and hold your head up high. Repeat that behavior that sets of shame over and over again without hiding it from those who don't reject you. In other words, it probably is not good for you to hold out your head up high in a group of people who are actively rejecting you, but to find your tribe and hold your head up high then and disclose that information. With guilt, we have the same set of circumstances. Sometimes when you go against your moral values, you want to hide and go away. So when you face the music, the opposite action is to experience the guilt. Ask, but don't beg for forgiveness, and accept the consequences of whatever it is that happened. Repair the transgression and work to prevent it from happening again. If you're feeling guilty and it doesn't fit the facts, don't apologize or try to make up for it. Change your body posture, look innocent and proud, puff up your chest, maintain eye contact, and keep your voice steady and clear. The idea here is that we don't want you apologizing over and over and over again for things that you have nothing to apologize for, because that takes away your self-respect and your own boundaries. Jealousy. With jealousy, sometimes we work really hard to try controlling others and being suspicious, or doing things to get ahead of a situation. So the idea here is to let go of controlling others' actions. Remind yourself that people are allowed to do what they're allowed to do. So stop spying or snooping. Oftentimes, when we do these things, we create the very things that we're looking for. Relax your face and body and take a willingness stance. Love. Well, we talked a little bit about love. Now, what in the world would you need opposite action for love for? Well, there are oftentimes we have feelings of love for situations that are not good for us, including relationships that are truly over, not accessible, or even abusive. So, the opposite action of love is to stop expressing love. Avoid the person and distract yourself from thoughts of the person. If they come up, notice them, allow them to be, but also use strategies like the wise mind accepts to engage your thoughts. Remind yourself of why love is not justified and rehearse the cons of loving this person. Like, go over what is the problem with it. Avoid contact with things that remind you of the person. That means get up off their Facebook and their Instagram or looking at photos over and over again. When opposite action works, it works when the emotion does not fit the facts. So, for again, the terror in response to hearing a loud noise. If there's a loud noise outside and there's no terror necessary, it also works when the emotion, its intensity or duration are not effective for your goals in the situation. So let's say you're feeling angry at your parents and can't focus in school all day because you're still fuming. Opposite action should be done all the way, meaning like you've got to fully embrace the opposite action. If you are only partially doing it and then you're drifting back, then opposite action won't work. You need opposite behavior, opposite words and thinking, and opposite facial expressions, voice tone, and posture. So let's talk about the steps for opposite action. Step one is to figure out the emotion that you felt. Then go back and figure out what is the action urge that goes with that emotion. Ask the question, does the emotion fit the facts of the situation? If yes, will acting on this urge be effective? The next question would be, do you want to change the emotion? If you do, figure out what the opposite action is, and then do the opposite action all the way. Repeat acting in the opposite way until the emotion goes down for you to notice. So let's take that example of love, right? Let's say you have a relationship with a very toxic boyfriend, and you figure out that you can't help it. You are in love with this person, but it has ended several times. The emotion that goes with that, the action urge that goes with that emotion is that you just want to spend lots of time with them, you want to be around them, you want to communicate affection, you want to call them, you want to text them. But does the emotion fit the facts of the situation? If this person is toxic and abusive and hurtful and keeps breaking up with you, should you love somebody who is putting you through this much pain? The next question would be, do you want to change the emotion? If you want to change the emotion because you know that this isn't good, now this can be different in every situation, so there's no right or wrong in how somebody should respond, but this is an example. Ask yourself, do you want to change that emotion? If loving this person is causing you harm, do you want to change this emotion? And if you do, what is the opposite action? The opposite action would be to avoid this person, engage in some distractions. So you might notice your thoughts about wanting to call them and change that to some of the cons of being with them. What are some of the problems when you are thinking about uh engaging with them? You might engage in distraction skills and go out with some friends. Remember, you have to do it all the way. If you feel yourself feeling sad for not having it, then you change your posture and you get up and you do unpleasant activities. Repeat acting in this opposite way until that emotion goes down enough for you to notice. Thank you so much for joining me for this video on opposite action. Please join me again for our next video. I appreciate you all watching. I hope you have a great day.